What you're about to hear is not something most people will ever tell you. Not in lectures, not in books, and certainly not on YouTube. Because this is not a story, this is a system of power, an ancient framework of control over entities that are not metaphors, not symbols, but demons. Real in the only way that matters. They act, and they answer. The Ars Goetia is not a myth. It is the first part of a 17th century grimoire known as the Lemegeton, or the Lesser Key of Solomon. But what lies in these pages predates that text by centuries. It whispers through forgotten manuscripts, through hidden names, through rituals spoken in silence and drawn in salt. It claims that 72 demons, organized, titled, ranked, can be named, summoned, and commanded. Not by saints, not by prophets, but by you. This book does not care what you believe. It only cares whether you are willing. Because the moment you open it with true intent, you enter a structure older than language and deeper than myth. A design created not to explain, but to reshape. And today we open that design. Not for entertainment, not for fantasy, but to understand what it means to look into the dark and see something looking back. The origins of the Ars Goetia. The Ars Goetia is said to originate with King Solomon, not the wise monarch of religious tradition, but a reimagined figure of occult power. In this telling, Solomon was not simply a judge of moral disputes, he was a master of dominion, a king who wielded divine authority not only over men, but over the invisible world. According to legend, he summoned and imprisoned 72 demons, beings of intellect, cunning, and force, within a brass vessel, sealing them with sigils of command and names of angels so potent that even the Infernal bowed in silence. But they did not obey him out of fear. They obeyed because he understood something most never grasp, that the cosmos runs on structure, on form. That power, when bound by language and symbol, becomes direction, control, will. What Solomon built was not just a prison, it was a blueprint, a model of spiritual control through ritual geometry, divine invocation, and focused intent. And centuries after his death, that blueprint began to surface again, not in temples, but in shadows. During the medieval and early Renaissance eras, European occultists began piecing together fragments of older magical systems: Persian, Arabic, Greek, and Judaic. Out of this dark scholarship rose the Lemegeton, or the Lesser Key of Solomon, a 5-part grimoire said to contain the wisdom Solomon had once used to command the spirits of the unseen. The first and most infamous of these books is the Ars Goetia. This was not a collection of tales. It wasn't allegory or metaphor. It was a system, precise, technical, structured. Each demon was recorded like an entry in a divine ledger. Their name, their appearance, their personality, their exact abilities, their hierarchical rank, how many legions they commanded, the sign under which they answered, and most critically, their sigil, that unique symbol through which their essence could be summoned, constrained, and in theory, controlled. But this book was never meant to be read casually. It was not a curiosity for the shelves of scholars. It was a working document, a volatile fusion of divine invocation and infernal engineering. It was dense with layered symbols, protective constraints, and dire warnings. To study the Ars Goetia is to step into a map of spiritual command where one mistake could unravel the soul. It is not a text of passive learning, it is an architecture of engagement, with entities that do not tolerate error. The Church declared it heresy, the state branded it sorcery, and yet it spread, copied by hand, passed in secret, translated, hidden. Because no matter how forbidden it became, there were always those who still sought it. Not out of curiosity, but out of desperation, power, vengeance, knowledge. Whatever the reason, the Ars Goetia offered something more than belief. It offered results. And for those who dared to trace its symbols and speak its names, what they found was not fiction. It was function. The infernal hierarchy of demons. The Ars Goetia is not vague. It describes a kingdom, a command structure, a hierarchy of 72 demons divided by rank: kings, dukes, princes, marquises, presidents, earls. These titles are not symbolic. They are operational. Each rank implies not only status, but danger, power, and the complexity of the rituals required to summon them. The higher the rank, the more exacting the ritual, and the greater the price of error. Baal, the first demon listed, is a king. He grants invisibility, not as a trick, but as a spiritual condition. The erasure of the self, a quiet disappearance from the fabric of recognition. Paimon, another king, is known for overwhelming knowledge and mental domination. His presence is often described as loud without sound, heavy without weight. Asmodeus governs desire and seduction, but not for pleasure. He reveals the hunger that already lives within you. Bua teaches medicine and philosophy, but only through pain. His lessons often come as illness first, clarity second. And Belial, perhaps the most feared, offers absolute freedom, but at the cost of all emotional connection, all tethering to humanity. Each demon rules a legion, sometimes 10, sometimes 200. They speak in languages few remember and fewer understand. Their seals are not illustrations, they are commands. Gateways. Each one, when drawn with intent and precision, opens a specific channel, not to hell as the church would claim, but to transformation, to confrontation, to consequence. The magician does not petition, they command. But to command a demon is not to control it. It is to engage in a battle of will, of sovereignty, and only one mind can remain in control by the end. The ritual system. To use the Ars Goetia is to step into a performance of power. The magician constructs a sacred circle for protection and a triangle of manifestation to contain the demon. Inside that triangle, the summoned force is expected to appear, whether in vision, sensation, or overwhelming presence. The geometry isn't decorative, it is law. The space drawn becomes a boundary, and that boundary becomes a contract. The ritual is exacting: incense, invocations, divine names, consecrated tools. The brass vessel, the sigil of the demon. Everything must be precise, but the true tool is intent. The demon does not respond to props or gestures, it responds to the strength of your will. A wavering voice is worse than silence. A distracted mind invites things that were never called. When the name is spoken, when the air thickens and the silence begins to vibrate with something behind it, then the ritual has succeeded. The demon arrives not with fire or spectacle, but with knowing. With weight, with pressure behind your eyes and thoughts that feel like they're no longer your own. The shift is subtle but unmistakable, like remembering something you never learned. This is not theater, this is control, exercised by the one who dares and accepted only by the one who understands the price. Are they real, entities, or archetypes? Are these demons real beings, or are they shadows of the human mind given shape through ritual? This question divides magicians, psychologists, and occult scholars alike. Some say the demons of the Goetia are external intelligences, independent, ancient, cunning, conscious entities that existed long before language, wearing the faces we've given them simply to be recognized. Others claim they are archetypes, fragments of human nature so potent, so concentrated that when called upon with ritual precision, they become temporarily autonomous, a focused distortion of the self made manifest. But in practice, the distinction vanishes. Because the effects are real, to summon Asmodeus is to confront desire you didn't know you had. Not a fantasy, but a compulsion, a shift in attention, a hunger that begins to define your thoughts. To invoke Belial is to feel relationships fall away and ambition sharpen into something surgical, detached, precise. The demon is not real in the way your hands are real. It is real in the way trauma is real. Addiction, obsession, power, it is real in its influence, its ability to reroute your decisions, alter your focus, and reshape what you once called identity. The Goetia is not just a mirror, it's a mirror that responds. It doesn't reflect passively, it watches, waits, and when allowed, it answers. The price of power. Each demon offers something: love, wealth, revenge, healing, freedom. But what is never stated outright is the cost. No blood sacrifice is required. No deals signed. The cost is transformation, and once it begins, it cannot be undone. The magician begins to change, dreams shift, desires become sharper, relationships decay. One practitioner may gain success and lose their empathy. Another may achieve insight but lose all grounding in reality. The demon does not take anything from you. It shows you what you're willing to give up. And that is the most dangerous part, because no one ever thinks they're offering too much until it's already gone. The closing of the circle. To open the Ars Goetia is to make a decision that echoes, not because of what you believe, but because of what you become. It is not a book of stories, it is a tool, a door, a reflection. It does not haunt you, it invites you, carefully, slowly, into a conversation you may not know you're having until it's too late. And whether the demons it describes are real beings or manifestations of your deepest drives no longer matters, because once you engage with them, they begin to engage with you, in your dreams, in your thoughts, in your will. The names may fade, the rituals may stop, but the change stays. So ask yourself this, before you ever draw the circle: do you seek power or do you seek truth? Because the Ars Goetia offers both, and it takes everything in return.